We're dealing with a lot of methamphetamine.
How would you describe your life?
Chaos.
Ah.
Yeah. My head felt like it was getting cooked, and he's just full of rage and full of, you're on fire.
Once they get to that rawness core of who they are and what's happened, then you start to install health and well-being.
Tēnā rā koutou katoa, nau mai huri mai ki, ka huri te tai.
Where we look at the effects of methamphetamine on the farm.
Watching services come through, I wish that I had that.
This is the first time I've actually been able to have control of my life.
I need to do something. I can't just let my nephews and nieces suffer, you know.
Kia ora rā koutou katoa, koutou mai huri mai ni ki tēnei wāhanga, ngā mihi o te rā. And Nick's nice to have you as usual at our podcast.
Yes, nice to be here.
Yeah, but our manuhiri, Korey and Katrina, movers and shakers up here in the north. Well, they didn't tell me that, I just made that up.
But it's true.
Because they're humble and I'm not. But hey, kia ora korua, no mai hara mai. Just give us a brief overview of what you guys are doing up here in the far, far north.
Tēnā korua. Up here in the far north, we're doing a few different things in different spaces. Recently, we got some pūtea for the rock kaupapa, which means resilience against organised crimes in communities.
Yep.
And so we've been doing a whole set of different initiatives, including this podcast.
Yeah, cool.
But really, we're trying to get out in the community and collaborate with all the different services doing the mahi in the addiction space, and then also working with whānau as well. And we're doing that in different lanes, working within our kahui as well, which Korey might talk about a bit as well, and connecting really with all the services that our whānau are looking to for help as well.
Right, but mainly around addiction?
Mainly around
Okay.
meth,
Okay.
Specifically.
specifically, yeah,
Oh,
and
gee.
also organised crime in
Yeah.
our communities, the impacts of that.
But ultimately trying to uplift our communities.
Yeah.
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 Get us into a better state than what we're in at the moment.
Yeah.
And what does that state look like?
Well, for being honest, was in social work a few years ago and watched meth come into the community, specifically Kaikohe. And coming back into social work, we're into the second generation of it, basically. So
Wow.
without sounding like an old man, but that's what we're looking at the moment, and it's more sophisticated. It's embedded into not just into our communities, but into our whānau. And unfortunately, a lot of us have had, it's really close to home. So hence that's where the passion comes from, because it's tough to see our whānau in this state, especially when times are hard enough as they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so for us to lean into something that we think will numb the pain, or will give us a bit of time out, it's actually in the long term, it's
Do you think people are thinking of the long term though when they're in pain right in this minute?
See, from my perspective, and I'm talking from a space, not as a user. My observations are that it's, I wouldn't say a knee-jerk reaction, but because there's a lot of trauma in our community, in our whānau, not just in our communities, but in our whānau, and having to deal with that and not knowing how to. It's a lot easier to, what we call self-medicate yourself. Alcohol was always the first point of, contact first, the first thing we turned to because it was legal and accessible. But now we've basically got that feel-good feeling times 100. So,
Yeah.
Gee.
And quicker.
Yeah, and talking to whānau on the ground, it sells itself. Like they don't actually, the dealers don't actively go out and promote the product. The product sells itself, unfortunately, and that's because of the state that our whānau are in. The demand for the product.
You've said something really interesting and really valid, is that not having the coping mechanisms or the skills And I've been in that space too. And, you know, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm sharp enough to know that, you know, my behaviour wasn't correct with alcohol when I was in the grief space. But yeah, it's a symptom of these underlying things, eh? Is that right to say,
Yeah,
Katrina?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Poverty's a big thing in our communities at the moment, and trying to open our whānau to the pathways and opportunities to choose differently, that's a part of the I guess the issue as well. And so trying to work together to do innovative things in the community economically, but then also heal our whānau along the way and provide those options for them as being some of the key work that we're trying to get off the ground and work together on doing.
And Kaikohe traditionally is a very, very important part of Te Ao Māori, especially us as Ngāpuhi, and it's Kaikohe's whakapapa is really important and proud. So, and it still has that. It's just this ngārara that's crept in, and affected us. So tell me about some of the services. So I'm asking as a Kaikohe person, you know, tell me about some of the services or how you can help me.
Yeah, we've been working quite closely with our local hapu, Ngāti Tautahi, in delivering wānanga. And so touching in on the strengths that we do have in our community is that mātauranga and healing from that perspective and reconnecting whānau back in. That's where we've really been learning and growing in. And Korey jump in, but the impacts that we've seen through that has been really impactful.
Has it been a success?
Yeah, I think so. Just learning, for instance, the pōwhiri process for whānau, that's a skill that they can take away with them and then reconnect with their marae and actually physically reconnect. So filling their kite with that kind of mātauranga and tikanga is what we're strong in. So that's kind of the delivery point.
That's awesome. And it gives them the dignity, the pride, connects them to whakapapa and all those things that builds up their wairu, eh, bro?
Yeah. And like we're fortunate because we've had whānau that have, gone from users to dealing to, to coming on the other side and actually finding the purpose that you're talking about, coming from giving back to whānau. And, it's a part of their healing process because they, they understand some of the wrongs that they've done in the past. And because they're haukainga now, that's the difference, eh? Because...
that's
when you make
powerful,
that commitment that you're not going anywhere and everyone's going to see you and hold you to account. For me in my small town, we've got one shop, so everyone, you've got to stand in line and you've got to, if you've got any rari, you've got to, so for our whānau that are on the ground, it's transformative for them. It's inspiring for their whānau to see them go through that process as well. And because we talk about rangatiratanga and ultimately we've got to help ourselves, and that's the perfect example of us helping ourselves.
What do you have in place for whānau that needs support? Say, for example, you've got a nan and a papa and their child and they're raising the grandchildren. What do you have in place to be able to support them?
Yeah, well, that's the mahi that's in front of us. Collating all the information, getting everybody, like whether you're in services or whether you're the grandmother that you speak of, we need all that information so we can find out where the gaps are.
Because it's happening a lot, eh? Grandparents taking on the roles of their grandchildren and stuff.
Well, their parents are getting pulled out of the picture because of meth, being locked up and stuff.
I know when my mum was going through it, that's something she didn't have was any support on how do I save my daughter, and she didn't know where to turn to.
Yeah, well, I guess one way in which we can advise is the services that we do have in the communities, and they're really working in every door's the right door, kind of way. And so we've got Whakaoranga Recovery Hub. They're based right in town there, and they accept walk-ins, but giving Whaeronda a call is another way, and just getting some of that information about how whānau can connect in with them. There's also He Waka Taiora, and they've the rehab that's set up in Kaikohe recently. They've just started running their program through. And they're also connected in Whakaoranga Hub. And then we've also got the Kimiora team with Te Whatuora, and they're working here in Kaikohe as well, and they're similar. They're working on the ground, all of those teams. And I think one perspective that I want to put out there is that they're all in the trenches doing the real hard money, working with our really critical whānau as well. And as part of Ngā Pui Iwi Social Services, we're trying to get in around them and support them as well. So we often refer our whānau through to them as well.
What
and
is
make sure we have those connections?
What is one of the biggest struggles that you guys see about whānau accessing those, or making the decision to reach out and get the support?
Yeah, well, that's the obstacle in itself. Like coming out.
Yeah, the whakamai.
Yeah. Because once once people know that it's part of your community, part of your whānau, and that it's actually, that's the tough part, is getting our whānau to step forward.
Yeah.
So we're trying to find ways to either go to them or provide some sort of avenue where it's anonymous, so they can have the courage to step forward. Not have the crowds around, and because it's a touchy subject. Plus, it's illegal. The fact that once
And
it's on,
whānau is scared that OT will come through and take the kids and stuff like that.
But to what Katrina was saying, like the providers that we do have, the professionals that we do have, just like every other frontliner for our whānau, overworked.
I've seen it.
There's
Under-resourced.
And running on passion alone, and that's why for us it's really important to try and find ways to support them, whether it be putting pressure on government for funding or but the tough part for me is trying to find things in community that are going. So once our whānau get through that, if hopefully they do get to a space where they can start looking for positive things in community. For me, the hard part is looking around and realizing that we haven't got much going on unless you're in a church group. There's support groups, because our social circles are different now, and they used to always include alcohol, ironically. So now we're looking at sports clubs and what other avenues are there. And at the moment, because of the cost of living and everything, it's hard just to get things up and running. And that, even then, those are volunteers once again. Getting those community kaupapa going, like our youth space, for example, is really struggling. Unless you're playing sport, there's not much else we can offer from the community lens.
And what effect does that have on the community, do you think?
Well, that's why that circular economy within the game that we speak of, of selling and dealing, is a lot more attractive. Because those social circles that they're involved in, unfortunately, when you're in the game, are only those social circles. And so that's what I'm talking about. In community, somehow we've got to boost resource into that, so we can get, it might sound like an old man, but the all those scouts types clubs, or anything. Everything. But there's actually answers in the community. It's just they don't have the resource, and at the same time we need to encourage them more and support them more. Like, give them more mana and say, actually, bro, you are good at carving or at skateboarding, or all we have to do is give them a little nudge forward and say, bro, we'll get behind you and back you. Just have the just be encouraged that we need what you have. The community, our whānau, need what you have to offer. Because for me, we have to whakamane our whānau, because like I said before, we have to support and help ourselves. We can't rely on any external forces. Especially if we want to keep our whānau off the books, if you know what I mean. Because once they're in the system, it's really tough to get them out.
Man.
Awesome. Far out. You've got a long way to go, you reckon?
I think we're making tracks.
That's good to hear. Making progress, eh?
Yeah, definitely.
And I've even, I've reconnected with a few people I met who were struggling. So some of our young men, and thanks to Whai Ronda and other people supporting them, I've seen a huge change. We both have. And that's only just over a few months. And then aroha, that way of belonging, that ancient Māori template that works for our people. End of story, whanaungatanga, all those things. So, and so we're really the only people who can deliver that stuff.
Yeah, and me personally, love my whānau, love my people, and it's hard to watch us go through it. So, that's always and we used to frontline mahi anyway, so you just got to suck it up for the amount of time that you can do that mahi, but you also got to understand that you've got to have a space where you can detach,
Yes.
Fill that cup back up,
Yeah.
and then get back to roll the sleeves back up again. That's the hard part, the sustainability of it, because...
Well, yeah, you guys have to be like athletes, because you're running the marathon, and you got to make sure that you've got your rest periods, you've got the support you need to achieve, because, I don't know, I spending more time in Kaikohe, I think the thing that hurts me so much, I don't live in Kaikohe, okay, I'm from the north, but it's the waste of talent.
Yeah.
The waste, I know how talented our people are, and that poverty of spirit. I would love positivity to be as addictive as that bloody drug we're talking about, and go through the community. Yeah. And that's what you guys are trying to do, is crank that up.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of positive things organically happening in the community as well. And that's the whole aim, especially through Te Ka Hui Marohiro Heo Ngāpui, that's the meth task force.
Yeah.
The kōrero through there is really, we don't want meth to be the narrative of our community, because there's positive things happening there.
Yeah.
And lots of our rangatahi especially doing awesome mahi. And so how do we lift those stories up as well, and those be the role models, and I guess...
And normalise that success,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well,
so we can do that.
That's exactly what that's the key, is having them experience success. See, we've got to create platforms and opportunities, because they
haven't tasted it.
They need exposure to it.
That's it. And being stuck in Kaikohe, we're looking at each other. It's okay, if this is the situation, then how do we inject some mojo into it to get us rallying behind each other? And we have to create platforms. We have to create opportunities.
Wow.
And the youth space is in dire need in Kaikohe at the moment.
And that's our biggest growing cohort, within Te Ao Māori.
Yeah.
You see, even when you look at politics and stuff, so many of us, and of us, whatever, of them under the age of 30,
Yeah.
And even for me, I find it hard to follow. I mean, I can connect with that group, but it's a different time.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, as a father, it's tough.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're the succession plan. The younger ones are the succession plan, and we're not just going to be a flash in the pan, because sustainability is what keeps us in that rangatiratanga space. We have to maintain and sustain ourselves. So we have to invest in the future. We have to support the future, and we have to have a mindset where, if I'm not in the seat doing the mahi on the front line, then who can, I have to keep an eye out to see who can replace me.
Yeah.
Because the kaupapa is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Getting our whānau into a space of healing, uplifting our, raising our chins is the basic term that I like to give to.
Love
just
that.
Get us to walk around with pride, and and this is the circular economy that Katrina's talking about, economics, creating employment.
Yeah.
And I'm stubborn and I'm a bit of a radical. I'm like, okay, if there's opportunities, then what opportunities do we think we should have? Not some external tell us that this industry should come into Kaikohe. Kaikohe's got its own mana, and Kaikohe has its own ideas, and
True
for us to
that.
just say,
True
we
that.
have the answers. Nah, we'll give it back to the hapu.
Yeah.
Because they know the local economy better than anybody else. They know the waterways, they know the water tables, because everything that comes into production, it needs water. Sorry, I'm rambling a bit. But
No, it's not. It's awesome.
But this is their local knowledge, of not...
See, one of the things that I get reminded of every time I come back is that our people picked this place, Kaikohe, and they picked it for a reason. And I think location in years to come is going to be a big part of the growth of this. Man, it's only half an hour to the ferry in Hokianga. It's a stone's throw to the Bay of Islands and to all these, and we're stuck here. Well, not stuck here, but we're there, and there's got to be some initiative around position, we just got to encourage people to invest, maybe. I don't know.
Is it hard to, I'm trying to think, do you mainly focus on the adults, or are you focusing on the children and, supporting them, because they're the next ones that are going to be stepping in line?
Yeah, totally. And I mean, what we've heard from some of our taitamariki is they actually don't want to be involved in meth because they've seen the harm it's done on their whānau, and so they want nothing to do with it. But then what do they do when their whānau are in addiction, or, you know, they're coming down from using? They've got nowhere to go. So how do we create those
because
spaces?
where do you start?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if they're isolated, because we know of we'll call them youth groups, you know, that sort of have formed their own sort of cohort in their community because all their parents are users, and so when there's a drop, for example, when there's a drop into their community, the parents participate, and so at that time, all those kids in those houses are all okay, you know. Mum and dad and auntie and uncle and te mea are all getting together for tatara, and there'll be a benda. So they already know what's coming. So then they go and find a spot where they can meet up.
Right.
Yeah, which is, you know, in rural towns, it's really tough. But the toughest part about it is we don't know because we can't see it on the street. You know, this is tucked away in the bush, you know, somewhere, and they're growing up in that space.
Oh, man.
You know what I
See,
mean?
it's like the adults need the healing, the children need exposure to a different world, exposure to a much bigger things out there, bigger opportunities.
Dreams.
Yeah.
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 The
And they are they are quite resourceful, our taitamariki that are stuck in that cycle. And I say it that way because, you know, kai, for example, kai and shelter, they're making their own shelters, and for kai, they're actually participating in school because there's lunches at school. You know, so, you know, there's that.
Those
that
are wins. Those are wins.
I just say that because we had Harley here, and he was just sharing about his upbringing, and he had no one to support him. He had no food, so then that's where it started. You know, doing what he needed to do to get food.
To survive.
And then from there was just say, you know what, I'm around it all the time. You can't beat him, join him. And that's when he was 10 years old, addicted to methamphetamine.
Yeah. And the reason why clubs are attractive, because that's a protection mechanism. That's a peer group.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where the concern for me is with these young ones coming through. It's too easy to, you know, because you're potentially perfect and, you know, to be recruited when you're in that space of desperation and looking for something
ripe for the picking, eh?
Yeah.
And the thing is if you step in to support these kids and that while they're at this age, then you hopefully won't be there with the healing journey when they're at that age.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 That's it.
The
'Cause you can
prevention, not the
divert
cure,
that
right?
journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's within, I guess, addiction, the big picture, you know, there's the prevention and education part, there's the addiction part, but there's also the post-care as well. We talk about that. And so, you know, that's a lot for our
That is a
community
lot
to have
for
to cover.
you as well.
Yeah.
I'm like, God damn.
Yeah.
Far out.
So, you know, you do the interventions, but what's that follow-up aftercare look like? And that's why
It's a load.
trying to connect into other things that are happening in the community is really important, and we have to tautoko and support that.
Do a lot of the services in the community work together solidly?
Well, that's what I mean by our kaima here in the trenches working on the front line, doing the mahi, and I guess over the last 8 months we've kind of really tried to pull out of that and engage with each other and connect.
Yeah.
I think the idea moving forward is to have a more joined up approach that we're going to try and do through the kahui, so that we can, I guess, share our resource, but also be impactful across the board and not all that resource into the one area.
Yeah.
That's kind of the
That makes complete sense. Yeah.
And we're Māori, like, you know.
Yeah.
And, like we know whanaungatanga, well, because
it's a strength.
And you
when
have
we
the
get
same
together.
goal.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah, but and also, you know, we are who we are. Like, if we don't see you and we don't know who you are, like, this is from a haukanga's perspective.
Totally.
When someone new comes into the area, oh, Iki, who are you?
Yeah.
Who do you think you are?
That's tika.
But we have to mahi tahi, and once they see that, that's when because it's all about trust.
Yeah.
It's all about trust.
And it starts with whanaungatanga, that trust, and that's what we've learnt through our wānanga is actually we've got to start at the whanaungatanga part to build up that rapport with whānau and that trust so that we can help with what they need. They'll be
Yeah.
able to access the, the supports that they need. And that's just the first part of it, of the step, the journey.
This isn't quite the tying a bow in this conversation, but one of my favourite things I learned out of my parenting mahi is the 3 R's. Okay, rules without relationships leads to rebellion. And when you talk about, you can't tell our people what to do when they don't know you.
Yeah.
That's not going to work,
Who do you think you are?
Who do you think? And you come to Pangaru and tell us what to do.
Yeah.
You better get, even if you're Maori.
Yeah.
Even if you're Maori, no, you've got to have those relationships and that rapport, and then we travel together. Eh?
Nice.
I really believe we're going to win this. And seeing the mahi that you do and our contribution, although small, I really believe the collective energy and the collective aroha will make the difference. And I've got a lot of faith in our tamariki, and we're going to get there. Engari ko pau te wā, e mihi ana kia kōrua e mahi ana ngā mahi rangatira I roto I o tātou hāpuri, tō tātou whenua rangatira o Kaikohe, ngā mihi. Thank you. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
And thank you too, Nicola.
Oh my God, he's calling me my name.